Iowa is a great place. Weather was a little unpredictable. The winters were very, very cold. Um, I think the second winter I was there was, I think I had heard it was like the eighth worst on record. There were a lot of days that were -20, and then with wind chill like -30, -40. So that made it that really slowed down the work because people would not be out. It's harder to contact and meet new investigators and things like that. Um, so that's what the weather was like. The summers were pretty nice though, actually. But life in Iowa, Iowans were really hard workers. Um, there was a lot of them. It wasn't uncommon for people to work more than 40 hours a week. So that makes it a little more difficult to get in contact with people, and a lot of times they'd be tired when they get home from work, especially when the sun would go down early. They'd go to bed really early. It's 6:30, 7 o'clock sometimes, and so if you were out trying to contact people later, it was really difficult because they're like, "Hey, what are you doing? We're going to bed," and you're like, "Well, we're working for 2 more hours, so we got to talk to somebody." So there's a lot of blue collar hard workers throughout most of Iowa. In Des Moines itself, which like I said, I served in for about a year. Um, I think Des Moines, someone told me, is the financial capital of the United States or something like that. So there's a lot of like financial companies. There's a lot of health insurance companies in Des Moines, life insurance and stuff like that. So there's definitely more of a city atmosphere in some parts of Des Moines. There's little smaller towns kind of surrounding it that are connected to Des Moines, but there's definitely more of a downtown city feel in part of Des Moines. A lot of the people that we worked with lived in like apartment buildings and things like that, more humble areas. And so, yeah, most of the time that we spent were in apartment buildings meeting people. And, that's different because, where I grew up or even around here a lot, you just spend most of the time that I had spent was with people in their homes, but not so much in apartments. So that was a different atmosphere. But I really appreciated that because I got to meet a lot of people and learn a lot about what people go through, kind of the difficult struggles that they have. And it was really eye-opening and something that really helped me to appreciate, like I said, what other people go through, and learn to love people and help people through their problems rather than judging people or not wanting anything to do with their problems. I'm grateful that I got that aspect on my mission where I could have more empathy for people. But as far as the homes that people lived in, there's a lot of really old homes with really big porches, and a lot of the porches were closed in, where it has like a door and then the porch and then the front door. And so those were always kind of awkward, trying to figure out if you should knock on the outside door or go inside the porch and knock on the actual front door. And so those were a little difficult to figure out what to do. But yeah, there's a lot of houses like that in Iowa. Just a lot of old small towns, but hardworking people. And well, there's not a whole lot of like tourist attraction in Iowa. There's the world's largest truck stop, which I had a companion whose dad owned a truck shop where they fixed up diesel trucks. So he was excited about that. I don't know a whole lot of other people that were really excited about that, but he was. Yeah, there's really not a whole lot of attractions in Iowa, unless you're interested in agriculture and farming and things like that. It's pretty heavily influenced by agriculture. It was really safe. I don't think I ever felt threatened in really any area or anywhere that we were working. I never really felt unsafe. We never heard of missionaries getting mugged or getting their wallet stolen or getting beat up or anything like that. So Iowa was really safe, which was a great blessing. There was animals all over the place. There's deer that would just walk down the street, even in the middle of the city sometimes. But really nothing too wild, nothing too different. As far as the cultures, like I said, I taught probably 80%, maybe more than 80% of the people that I taught on my mission were from West Africa. And so that was a big surprise for me because I had no idea that there would be West Africans in Iowa. I mean, they've just only been in the country for less than 6 months, some of them. And so that was a huge surprise to me, but they're people that I really grew to love, and really appreciated their culture. Besides that, like I said, there were some different pockets of Hispanic population, but mostly Caucasian is what I would say, especially in the smaller towns. In the more urban areas, there'd be more diversity as far as cultures and populations, but a lot of Africans in Des Moines especially. There'd be some areas of the city where it was very, very heavily populated with West Africans. Also Burmese people, people from Burma or Thailand, around that same area. There was one of the wards that I served in where probably had close to 100 members that were either from West Africa or from Burma. And so that was a much more diverse ward than any of the others throughout the mission. It seemed like cost of living was lower than maybe out here in Utah or in Nevada where I was from. It seemed like housing was not as expensive to build a house or something like that. But I don't know particularly too much. Luckily, that's one of the things that on your mission you just kind of don't worry about as much. So yeah, I don't know too specifically about cost of living.